Okay. Nowadays, it is possible to genetically modify an embryo's DNA in order to help it endure or resist certain illnesses by means of the technological advances the way transgenic crops do it. For example, we could resist genetic blindness, hypercholesterolemia, hemophilia, etc. We can even design human being before it is born. We can choose the hair type, eye color type, and other aesthetic condition on physical appearance. However, these measures are not affordable for everyone. Up to what extent do you think the aforementioned measures should be implemented right away? Prop posture. Nothing can stop scientific and technological development. This cannot be stopped by measures that do not belong to the field of science itself, such as religion and values. Science is a task for the sake of everyone, and if we impede this advancement, we are hindering humanity's progress. Opposition. Scientific work demands regulations because not all progress means advancement. Regulations should be grounded on values that allow development based upon ethical reflection, ensuring that these support humanity instead of causing any harm to it. Debate duration. The debate model that we have chosen lasts 30 minutes.
So can you help me presenting them here, please?
Yes. Team 1 is the pro posture, and they have 3 minutes, 1 minute await, 30 left. Well, I don't know what I have to do, teacher.
So you just ask them, okay, team one, you have 3 minutes to start, and then you ask to your timekeeper, who is Carla, to help you with that one, please. And then you move on and present person on team two. Okay, please.
Okay, team 1, you have 3 minutes, and you can start if Carla is ready. Ready?
Yes.
Thank
So
you.
um, I'm already counting, or do I wait?
Please wait until the member of team number one starts to talk, please.
Yes.
Yeah, it's me.
Thank you, Daphne.
Can I start now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daphne, and my teammates are Eric Araujo and Victor Martinez. Today, we're going to talk about why we claim that nothing can stop scientific and technological development. This cannot be stopped by measures that do not belong to the field of science itself, such as religion and the values. Science is a task for the sake of everyone, and if we impede its advantage, we are hindering humanity's progress. In this debate, we will support our statement by means of Jeremy Bentham's modern utilitarianism and Hans Jonas's imperative of responsibility. For these cases, we are going to take these examples, that is, what is scientific and technological development? Scientific development refers to the act of disclosing or developing that which is unknown to gradually unfold and grow towards a more developed state. What science referred to as humanity and progress? If progress can be defined as an advancement towards a further or higher succeed stage of growth, in other words, improvement, then human progress is as subjective and cultural related to our society in standards. Furthermore, most of these arbitrary concepts can be measured, and those one can say that if they are increased over time, progress is achieved. Which of these measures belong to the field of science and which ones don't? What is utilitarianism? Utilitarianism is defined as the ethical theory that advocates actions that that maximize happiness or well-being for all affect individuals, while opposing actions that can cause unhappiness or harm. Jeremy Bentham is the English philosopher that it's the founder of the modern utilitarianism. Imperative of responsibility by Hans Jonas is his philosophical theory that Hans Jonas advocates for humans to act that the effects of your actions are compatible with the preference of genuine human life. In order to this, we use the following books, that it's Enlightenment Now by Steven Pinker, An Introduction to the Principle of Morals Legislation by Jeremy Bentham, and The Imperative of Responsibility by Hans Jonas. According to these criteria, if we prove that science is a task for the sake of everyone, and if we impede its advantage, we are hindering humanity progress, then we know we have won the debate.
Okay, so it was 2 minutes and 54 seconds.
Thank you,
Claire.
team one. Now we have team two, I guess.
Yes, great, thank you.
Oh, you tell me when I should start?
Um, yes, right now.
Thank you. Okay, so good morning and afternoon, everyone. My name is Alejandro, and my teammates are Emilio and Artemio. And today we're going to talk about the scientific work demands regulations, because not all progress means advancement. Regulations should be grounded on values that should allow development based upon ethical reflection, ensuring that these support humanity instead of causing any harm to it. In this debate, we will support our statements by means of Aristotle's philosophical proposal and on the following cases or examples. The Stanford Prison Experiment, which involves a lot of moral, ethical, psychological, physical, and humanitarian aspects, which was also a really famous experiment held some years ago, which had some pretty impressive and devastating results as well. Also, the development of artificial intelligence and lots of aspects which will have a lot of impact in our short to mid future. In order to sustain our claims, we will use the following articles. Los límites éticos, avance o retroceso, by Roberto Germán Surrairain. Also, how do we stop cutting edge technology falling into the wrong hands, by Hannah Fry. And finally, Ética e Inteligencia Artificial by Sergio Marín García. Throughout the debate, we will present the following definitions, criteria, and arguments: scientific work, progress, ethics, morals, and peace. In life, limitations are always needed in order to progress in peace. Humanity has always sought to advance by respecting each other. With this, we want to advance without destroying, innovating without compromising, and improve with safety, which is a very important aspect to take into account if we want to have a better future. During the debate, we will present our positions with which we want to understand why limitations are needed in science and technology, so that a respectful and peaceful advance can be made throughout the years. If we want to evolve as a society in a solid and secure way, we need to be as careful and as cautious as possible, as we can both have advances without affecting any other aspect in life. This is an evident win-win relationship for every one of the parts involved. According to this criteria, if we prove that technological advances need ethical and moral limitation, then we know that we won the debate.
Okay, so already 3 minutes.
Oh, okay, so do I go now or?
Yes.
Can you help me presenting, please, the next person who is going to present the second argument here?
Are you talking to me or?
Yes, like just now the second posture.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to have the second member of the team present its posture, starting now.
Okay, so I'll be talking about our first argument, which is science is a reliable tool to be used in our favor that ought not to be obstructed by anything but itself. According to Canadian psychologist Steven Pinker in his 2018 book Enlightenment Now, in which he ponders about human progress and its implications, Most people agree that life is better than death. Health is better than sickness. Sustenance is better than hunger. Wealth is better than poverty. Peace is better than war. Safety is better than danger. Freedom is better than tyranny. Equal rights are better than bigotry and discrimination. Literacy is better than illiteracy. Knowledge is better than ignorance. Intelligence is better than dull witness. Happiness is better than misery. Opportunities to enjoy family, friends, culture, and nature are better than drudgery and monotony. All these things can be measured, and if they have increased over time, that is progress. Taking this affirmation into account, then one could argue that science is the ultimate tool towards human progress, being synonymous with revolution, defying the status quo imposed by the powers that be, and serving in favor of humanity's incessant desire for truth and knowledge. When viewed under the lens of Jeremy Bentham's modern utilitarianism, it is clear that science has had a predominantly positive utility throughout history. It has been the key to a healthier, wealthier, safer, more happy, and more knowledgeable society for centuries, which undeniably puts it as the leading charge of human progress. When addressing scenario number 3 and so-called designer babies, it's important to be mindful of the hundreds of genetic diseases that could be prevented, sparing thousands of humanity lives from the suffering brought about by said genome deficiencies every year. In a way, to genetically modify a baby to prevent it from suffering is no different from a vaccine, a natural step in the chain of evolution and something that could perhaps in the future shape and improve societal health standards. To oppose the moral tool that is science, which foundation is built on the purpose of aiding human progress, with transcendental religious beliefs, values, and ethics that constantly find themselves changing, is to put our need for self-actualization, satisfaction of curiosity, and well-being of the majority at stake. It is to hinder our development as a species. One could even say that maybe in the near future, to not genetically modify an organism who is about to be born in order to prevent it from having a preventable disease will be unethical. Thanks.
Okay. 2 minutes and 15 seconds.
Thank you. Now the second team will present its second argument.
All right.
Yes, you can start.
Right, thank you. Ethics and scientific procedures should be related and taken into account for any kind of experiment. There has been a record of experiments in the past which has led more problems than solutions or actual answers. It is way more than just trying to use people as a toy to see how they react. They are people just like all of us who have feelings, a family, and should be treated with dignity. There was a pretty intriguing case which was known as the Stanford Prison Experiment that definitely impacts the perspective on this topic. During this experiment, a group of people were divided in two, in which one half were considered as prisoners and the other as police guards. The doctor which carried out the experiment wanted to see the behavior of these people interacting in their given roles, which they did not have any kind of relationship with before the experiment. After just a matter of days, the experiment was cancelled, as the people that were acting as police guards took their roles very seriously and abused their power to a point of even humiliating and treating the people with the roles of prisoners to a point where physical and mental health was affected. Even some prisoners were suffering nervous breakdowns. The worrisome part here is that this experiment was not cancelled until the girlfriend of the doctor which carried out the experiment told him that there was no way he could let those kinds of things continue to occur. If it were not for her, he would not have acknowledged the possible catastrophic consequences that would have happened. This, of course, brought to the scientific community a result with the way that behavior of the people turned, but it could have been at a very high cost. There was no further information provided. However, based on the conditions in which the people left the experiment, they seemed to be traumatized and radicalized after trying to find their assigned roles. And was it worth it? Is the well-being of the physical and mental health of individuals worth for a conclusion on an experiment? There are lives that were completely changed for a scientific process, because the human being has physical and philosophical limits, but also ethical ones, which make his actions precisely human. These ethical limits make any debate and research possible, especially with human beings. Hence, any research without these limits would be unfeasible.
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll proceed with the team one again.
Please, I need you to remember that you have a chance to raise 2 objections, okay, within this time in case you have. All right?
Do I start or?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Science is independent from values and ethics. According to philosopher Hans Jonas, technology is ethically neutral, or it cannot be judged as right or wrong. Creating technology that helps the development of mankind is a common goal. Stopping only forced people who could be benefited from the discovery, such as newborns who will have hereditary conditions into having to live a life of patients, and in some cases, even discrimination. According to MIT, genes could be installed in people which would offer lifelong protection against infections or diseases such as Alzheimer's and other illnesses. Many genetic diseases can be avoided, and it's evident that medicine is an indispensable science for mankind. Hans Jonas mentions that future generations are subject to our collective actions and we have obligations towards them. And not taking advantage of opportunities offered by the new technology development could be to neglect this.
Okay, so it was 1 minute with 8 seconds.
If you guys have objections, so please, the opposite team has chance to open up 20 seconds of objections, please. No objections? Can we continue then with the next team, please?
Yes. Now we have the arguments of the team two. You can start now.
Okay, so you tell me when I can start.
Yes, you can start.
The lack of regulation in science and technology with its consequences. Technology and science are human-created tools that have helped us throughout history to solve our problems, make our tasks easier, and improve our quality of life. Science and technology have worked and saved us. Nevertheless, when these tools are used by evil and unprepared people, the results are always going to have a negative impact on the world we live in. They are certainly useful tools that can only be used with laws and regulations that have as a priority the safety and well-being of a human. History has shown us the consequences of giving dangerous groups of people or individuals the power of science and technology. We all know the results. Society and our world can't afford to keep having problems and victims caused by the lack of regulation of any type of technological or scientific advance or discovery. A Study magazine article called How Do We Stop Cutting Edge Technology Falling into the Wrong Hands was carried out by Hannah Fry, who is an associate professor in the mathematics of cities at the University College London, and The Guardian magazine. The problems of technology when there is no regulation are explained and totally agree with the ethical perspective of Aristotle. They both rely on the idea that science and technology are a dangerous weapon in the wrong hands. You can't assess the value of an innovation in isolation. You have to consider whose hands it's in. All technology should be regulated to preserve and protect the human race and the world where we live in. According to Aristotle eudaimonic ethics, happiness is the main component of a virtuous life, and virtue ethics try to answer how do we humans live a good life. Are we going to achieve happiness and a good life by not having limits in these areas when we have experienced and seen the horrible results that can be caused by an irresponsible usage and miserable regulation? Rationality was very important to Aristotle, and I think this is the answer to keep technology as a human ally. By acting rationally, we will become virtuous and therefore happy, meaning if we maintain a scientific and technological advance with laws, regulations, and taking ethics into account, we will be able to preserve our environment and race while keeping progress and discovery.
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have the final arguments for team 1.
Okay,
There you-
before you continue, this should be the conclusion, right?
No.
Are you-
Yeah, we are at the last argument still.
Uh-huh.
The third argument.
Oh, third argument?
Yes.
Okay, please go ahead.
You can start.
Okay. A new way for human beings to exist in the world. The philosophy of technology is the systematic reflection on the action of the human being in nature and the creation of technological knowledge as manifestation of its own existence, which at the same time has to do with the direct relationship between human beings and the things. Technology is considered as neutral, and it depends on the pursuit of interest of each nation or sector. The object of a study of the philosophy of technology is related to the reflection of the changes. It is important that the regulations established must be taken into consideration so the technology may advance in an ethical way. According to Marshall McLuhan and Powers, technological objects must fulfill aesthetics and symbolic functions, meaning in an aesthetic way that the part of the belief of the user who seeks beauty through shapes, colors, and textures, which determine the way that we interact. And in a symbolic function is when the main function of technology are objects and it's like symbolic. From a humanistic relationship, many philosophers such as Rousseau, Heather, Barth, Habermas, and Ellul argue that the philosophy of technology must be based on the philosophical principles that defend the freedom of the human being from the presence of technology in the existence of the being human. Technology helps us as humans to grow, interact, and adapt to a new environment. Finally, several theories have the false premise of understanding technology as a custodial instrument, which prevents the ability to create and innovate by themselves, when in reality, it must be understood and its proper measure as one that allows problem solving and the generation of knowledge that allows social development. The world is always in motion and we cannot be left behind.
Okay, so 2 minutes.
Thank you. Now team 2, your final arguments, please.
Could you tell me when to begin with, please?
Yes, you can start.
Okay, so first of all, we want to specify once again that we are not against technological advances, but we are in favor of the regulation of this in order to prevent for such terrible and unfortunate negative aspects of experimenting and doing things without being aware of the consequences that could affect each and every one of us, like you, like me, like our families. Why risk them when we can protect them? Another important issue nowadays in the science and technology area is the artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence and all applications and services based on this technology have received considerable attention from the scientific and business community in the recent years. While it is true that the media and other dissemination platforms have contributed to creating excessive expectations regarding the possibilities of artificial intelligence, it is also true that this technology is already present in many of our daily activities, from conducting a search on the internet to listen to music from our devices or request a bank loan. Artificial intelligence is constantly learning from our information and behavior. This tool has surpassed every human's capacity regarding science, predictions, and speed of solving any problem that fits in this area. Artificial intelligence is a powerful master, but certainly a very dangerous and unexplored tool that can try to control itself and disobey human orders. Artificial intelligence is near to outsmart humans in different areas. This is not a theory. There have been events that exemplify this stance. Facebook robots developed their own language and managed to skip the limits imposed by humans. Even Elon Musk has talked about this topic. He stated, "Mark my words, artificial intelligence is far more dangerous than nukes, unless we learn how to prepare for and avoid the potential risks," he explained. Artificial intelligence could be the worst event in the history of our civilization, said Musk in 2018. A man who works closely with this technology and who uses it to help society and contributes to science and technology recognizes that artificial intelligence is a danger that cannot be controlled if it is not regulated and correctly managed. From a philosophical perspective, we have virtue. Aristotle defined virtue as the balance between excess and defect. In this case, what are we willing to risk as humans to have a massive technological development or excess if we analyze it through this perspective? Is the price worth it? Zoological ethics proposes the following question: which is the goal of life? If we try to answer this question for the technological aspects of our life, we are certainly not prepared to experiment with artificial intelligence, as we are not capable of understanding it.
Thank you. Now we are going to start with the conclusions. Team 1, you can start.
Do you need time, dear students?
Yeah, this is the time when we prepare the conclusion, right?
Yeah, exactly. So before we do that, just let me help you. I will send you to different rooms and then you'll come back. Is that all right?
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Teacher, do I tell you when it is 2 minutes?
Yes, dear. Thank you. So Alex, I'm going to send you to room number 1. Is that all right?
Yes, teachers, thank you.
Thank you. And then Daphne, I'm going to send you to room number 2.
Okay.
Thank you. So can I listen to the rest of you guys so I can see?
Teacher,
Artemio, you're there. Emilio, you're there.
yes, sorry about the interruption. Just like one thing is like getting into the breakout rooms isn't going to like stop the recording, or it is going to stay the same.
It's going to go with you, dear.
Ah, all right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, dear. So, dear, should I send you to room number 1 or room number 2? Artemio?
I can pick the room through the Zoom settings. Thank you.
Thank you, dear. Someone else? Eric? Carlita, can you help me? Mariana, can you help me, please?
Yes, teacher.
Thank you.
Now we're going to start with the conclusions. Team 1, you can start.
And you can start.
Okay, so finally, we can conclude that science is a task for the sake of everyone, and if we impede its advancement, we are hindering humanity's progress. After taking into consideration and actively listening to your arguments, we believe that some great points were made from which we can obtain valuable insights to further elaborate on our stand, such as the post-interrogant of the need for ethical regulations and your worry for humanity's sake, which is quite interesting and we have come to value. We understand that there is a worrisome implication for some of science advancements, yet we still believe that those scientific or possible consequences of scientific advancements are inherently immoral, as they aren't a consequence of science itself, but a consequence of human nature, which is the only objectively flawed factor in the system that is science. If anyone has the fault for the misuse of scientific advancements, it's humanity themselves, not science. One could also pose the argument that there is the existence of the so well considered Nova effect, which implies that even the worst of catastrophes have some of the best benefits, and some of the best things could actually imply bad consequences. Take, for example, the polio vaccine and many other medical advances, which come from, well, owes its existence to human cells that were taken from a woman without her knowledge or consent. And we never saw any compensation from their commercialization. The cell line grown from those initial samples was used and has been used into many drugs, toxins, and viruses, even if she was not aware. Moreover, there are the many positive and perhaps life-saving advancements made during World War I and World War II, which also were used for destructive purposes in its time. Out of the previous context and nowadays are actually pretty impactful and have been a significantly important stepping stone for science. Well, even so, and in spite of your efforts to convince us that social networks and the internet do have, uh, in spite of your efforts to convince us that scientific advancements must be regulated, we do believe that they themselves or science is not inherently bad or should be regulated by ethics or religious beliefs. And we think we performed better during this debate as we defended the importance of science without intervention from religious beliefs and actually stated that even if some religious beliefs or values or ethics or whatever were to impose on science, as it has been shown in history, science has overcome um, those obstacles time and time again through every revolution it has had. So even if some obstacles were to be planted in science's way, we must assume that science is a kind of unstoppable force. We all also stated the overall neutrality of technology and did address the scenario 3, which was the sparking conversation of this debate. Thus, we end our contributions to this exercise with a closing statement. Science is a task for the sake of everyone, and if we impede its advancement, we are hindering humanity's progress because such is the nature of science as an amoral tool to keep moving forward in its pursuit of advancement. That's it.
Thank you. 3 minutes and 50 seconds.
Thank you, Team 1. Now we'll have the conclusions of Team 2.
Thank you. You tell me when.
Yes, you can start.
Thanks. Well, finally, we want to conclude that science, technology, and their derivatives are helpful and useful for our society because it makes our life easier, speeds up our tasks, health, quality of life, and teaches us how to adapt and advance with it. It also helps us with the environment, with green technologies, order alternatives, and globalization. These are facts that cannot be changed, but these accomplishments were achieved with regulation and consciousness while we created and used these different tools. Change, advance, and adaptation require the help of science and technology these days. It is inevitable. Nevertheless, history and ethics show and try to teach us that regulation is the right path to choose in order to avoid the danger, the structure of individuals, and of the environment. When these tools have fallen into the wrong hands or had no regulation, horrible consequences have arrived in the short and long term. Society and our world cannot afford to keep having problems and victims caused by the lack of regulation of any type of technological or scientific advance or discovery. If we maintain a scientific and technological advance with laws, regulations, and taking ethics into account, we will be able to preserve our environment and race while we keep progressing and discovering in these areas. We should establish our limits and be prepared to accept failure, but we must keep in mind that failure does not mean risking our safety and well-being for development. Believing in technology and trusting it as it is without regulation is ensuring us a destiny full of sad scenarios wherein innocent victims have paid the price for advance. People who completely trust and rely on technology to solve everything are not ignorant, they have delusion of knowledge. That is more dangerous because it is linked to a blinded and biased perspective based on belief and not on facts. Technology, science, and its derivatives must be regulated to preserve and ensure safety with development. Ethics, history, facts, people who work and develop these tools and testimonies agree and are conscious of the dangers these advances without regulation represent. Albert Einstein said, "It has become appallingly obvious that our technologies have succeeded our humanity." This quote exemplifies perfectly the situation, and we would like to emphasize the point of exceeding our humanity for technology. When we do not regulate and define what limits we are going to implement over technology and scientific development, our humanity is lost, and the possibilities of having drastic results where there are more negative consequences and human damage to advance are more likely to be a reality. Ethics must change with technology, but a humanity must always preserve security and well-being with the help of regulation. If we lose sensibility and humanity, we're allowing horrible scenarios and damage to our loved ones, to the whole population or our own existence. So with this in mind, are we really going to advance as a species if we allow people to suffer due to lack of ethics and empathy only because of the possibility of an advance whose implications are unknown and because of the whim of those who will not suffer? How we're supposed to handle something we do not completely understand? Even if you try to convince us that there is no need for limits, we think we did best in this debate because we actually defended our posture with facts and with data. So let's think how we want the world of tomorrow to be before taking unconscious decisions that could compromise our future. Thank you.
Thank you. 3 minutes and 55 seconds.
Thank you very much, dear.
Thank you, everyone. Now we conclude the debate.
Thank you very much. Great. Can you please stop recording, guys?